Hi guys, so today I want to talk about, or I want us to talk about a question that I received in my email, and it's concerning why some people are obsessed with being negative and obsessed with always thinking and believing the worst. And just why some people just like to dwell and live in that place. So, I'm not going to read the letter in its entirety. I'm just going to kind of paraphrase and kind of give you guys a good idea of it. But the person emails and she says that she has a friend who is really paranoid. And the friend is always thinking that everyone in her life is against her. People at work are against her. Her friends are against her. Her family is against her. She thinks that everyone's out to get her. She thinks that there's always something going on. And she wants to know how she can help this person. She goes, I'm a good friend to her. I talk to her every day and I try to talk her through this. And at the end of the day, at the end of the conversation, her thought process always goes back to, well, they just hate me. Everyone hates me. And she goes, how do I help her? Okay, so let me tell you guys a little story because as you guys know, I try to be as transparent as I can. And, just let you guys know when I've had these personal situations that apply. I had a coworker who was exactly like this. This coworker, okay, so I started working at this company, and it was a really small company, and so there is all women working there. There might have been 2 men, but in the office there is all women, and that's where me and this girl worked. So this girl, her and I somehow, and I don't remember how it happened, but her and I somehow started to become close and almost like friends in the sense of, we would go out to lunch together. She would call me. We became close, definitely close. And when she would call me, it really always turned into everyone at work hates me. Everyone hates me. Everyone's talking about me. Then she would always ask me when I'm not there, do they talk about me? And anything that would happen to her or happen, she would take it personally. So for instance, if someone walked in and just said good morning and didn't specifically say good morning to her, she would literally turn it into, well, they're just treating me like a piece of shit because they didn't say good morning to me. Everyone hates me. And I knew that was not the case, but she was so paranoid and so convinced that everyone hated her. Everyone was attempting to get her to quit. Everyone was against her. Everyone was plotting her downfall. And she was obsessed with it. She was obsessed in the sense of that was her conversation. Every time she talked to me, she was completely obsessed with it. And it was frustrating to me because what she was saying was unfounded. Like, she was creating this alternate reality in her mind. And after hours of talking to her and trying to bring her down to earth and trying to say, is it possible? Will you even consider the fact that everything is not about you? Will you consider the fact that all these people at this job that are here, not because they want to make friends, but they're here because they want to make money and pay their bills, would you even consider that they are not focused on you 24/7, that they are not talking about you all the time? And she just was not willing to even see or consider that fact. And And so ultimately, what had to happen was I had to cut her off and just no longer talk to her. And I had to do that for a multitude of reasons. The first reason being I was not willing to allow that negative energy, and this right here gets into what I always talk about how it's important to protect your energy and to really be conscious of the people you allow in your space and the people you allow to talk to you and the information you're taking in. Okay? Because if you're around someone like that who exudes nothing but negativity and negative energy, and all their conversation is negative and it's always about people hate me, people are against me, especially at a job, sooner or later you will begin to internalize that and you will begin to take that in. And what'll happen is you will start to become convinced that what she's saying has some truth to it, and it will start to affect your relationships with your coworkers and with the people that she's talking about, that person's talking about. So, the first reason I had to cut her off was really because I just simply could no longer tolerate that negativity and that negative energy. That's number one. The second reason I had to cut her off was, at the end of the day, there was no resolve to it. And I know you all know exactly what I'm talking about, because we all have people in our lives like that, or have dealt with people like that, where they come to you with the problem, whether it's a problem with a man, a woman, a relationship, work, family, whatever. They come to you with a problem, and they are not really interested in a solution. What they're interested in is just having someone to listen to them bitch and complain about it, and ultimately having someone to justify what they're saying. Now, let me be clear. There is a difference between just plain out complaining, not wanting a solution, and just really looking for someone to unload that negative energy and baggage on, and venting. Those are two different things. Venting, and I'm going to tell you how you can tell the difference when someone is just really just trying to just unload their negativity onto you, put that burden on you, and when someone is simply venting. Okay? When someone is simply venting, it's not personal. So when people vent, they tend to use more words like they, them, they said this, they said that, all of them were doing this, I don't feel that's right. That's more venting. And the venting doesn't last long. When someone is venting, they usually vent for 20-30 minutes and then they're done. Also, how you can tell the difference is when people vent, usually at the end of that conversation, they tend to have calmed down, brought everything back to an even keel, and they usually somewhat solve their own issue. The situation when people vent, it doesn't escalate, it de-escalates, and they de-escalate themselves. Now, the other case, when people are just simply, they're not looking for a solution, all they want to do is bitch, complain, and really just unload negative baggage onto you. It lasts for hours. These are people that will talk your ear off about the same topic for 2 and 3 hours at a time, number one. Number two, the situation escalates. So the longer the conversation goes on, the worse they get. The more upset they get, the angrier they get, the more convinced of their own position they get. And number three, it's always about them. They use terms like, they did this to me. I never do anything. They are evil to me. They make me feel this way. It's all about them. And the last way you can tell is that there's no resolve to it. At the end of these long ass conversations, which you usually have to end because they'll talk your ear off all night. At the end of these really long conversations, they are in the exact same place they were in before, if not a worse space. There's no resolve to it. They don't come to any closure or conclusion in their own mind. That's the difference, right? Now, then the question becomes, why would someone want to live in that space? Why would someone want to live in a constant state of, everyone hates me, everyone's against me, no one's my friend, I can't trust anybody, all these bad things are always being done to me? Why would someone want to constantly live in that state? And it's really a simple answer. There's really one or two answers. The least likely cause is mental illness. And I'm not saying that mental illness is not widespread and rampant, but usually when you run into these types of people in these types of situations, it may or may not be mental illness. It usually is not mental illness, but it could be. So the least likely cause is, as I said, mental illness. There are, and don't get me wrong, I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or even therapist, so don't mistake that. But there are some mental illnesses. The one that comes to mind is manic schizophrenia, that cause people to have that deep paranoia. Okay, but the more likely cause, and what you're going to run into 99.999% of the time, the reason why people are like that, the more likely cause is comfort. Hear me out. People that live in that space are comfortable there. They're comfortable there. And the reason why is because people that live in that space usually are very narcissistic. Which, now that I think about it, that kind of goes hand in hand with a mental disorder. But people that live in that space are usually very narcissistic. And what that means is that people that are narcissistic, they are people that are very self-absorbed. They are people that are very just self-absorbed. They are not self-aware. These are people that think only about themselves. These are people that are convinced that everything is about them. However, they have very low self-esteem, which really seems like a contradiction, but that's just the way that that personality type works. And so due to them having that personality type, they are really unable to be a good friend to anyone else. And you'll also notice when you talk to people like that, every conversation steers back to them. And when you start trying to talk about you'll notice they don't listen, they don't pay attention, and it's hard for them to get involved, to really get emotionally attached or involved in conversations with other people, because they're so narcissistic. They're just all about themselves. That's how this particular girl was. Whenever I would try to talk to her about things I was going through personally, it just went right over her head. And that was really another reason why I had to cut our friendship off, because it's exhausting, mentally exhausting, to always hear about someone else's baggage and always have to allow them to unload their baggage onto you, but you don't get a chance to unload your baggage onto them. So what happens is you end up carrying double the weight, your weight and their weight. But back to what I was saying, why people are comfortable there. There is a comfort in being able to justify why no one likes you, why you have no friends, why no one wants to be around you, why people don't include you in things, by simply saying it's their fault. They hate me. They're mean to me. They have some unspoken, unsaid resentment toward me. It's comfort in saying that, because what happens is now you don't have to take responsibility for your actions. You don't have to look deeper into, why don't I have friends? Why don't people want to be around me? Why don't people include me in things? Why do people talk about me behind my back? Why is it I don't have a single solitary friend in the world? When you chop that up to, well, it's because people just hate me, and they just hate me, and I don't know why, because I didn't do anything, because I'm just as nice and perfect as I can be. When you chop that up to that, it's comforting for that person, because like I said, now they don't have to do the hard work that a normal person who is self-aware would do. A normal person who is self-aware would at some point wake up and they would say, I am a grown adult, grown woman, grown man. I'm in my middle 30s, early 40s, or whatever, and I can't keep friendships. I can't keep relationships. I can't stay at a job without having some drama. What is wrong with me? And a normal person would really explore that and would do the work to figure out what the problem is and how they can fix it. Because they don't want to live in that space. A normal person understands that if you are having the exact same problem everywhere you go with everybody you meet, it's not them, it's you. But when you have these other type of people we're talking about, they, for whatever reasons, are really unable. And I don't know that it's unwilling. It may be unwilling. Like I said, I don't have any education in psychology or the way the human mind works. I don't know if it's that they're unwilling, but I know for sure they are unable. They're unable to process that. They're unable to really look at it like, what? There's something I need to examine and change. Their thinking process goes as far as people hate me, and I'm just going to live in it and dwell in it because that's where I'm comfortable, and I don't have to do any more research about it. I don't have to look at myself. I don't have to face the fact that I am a problem. I am the problem. I don't have to face any facts. I can just live in my fantasy world, and that's that. So, that is that whole deal right there. So the next question is, how do you handle people like this? Well, like I stated previously, the only way to deal with people like this is to not deal with people like this. And the reason why is because these people are unwilling and unable to change. They don't want to see reason. They don't want to see facts. And at the end of the day, they have convinced themselves that the problem is everybody else. And you talking to them, no matter how much you talk to them, how often you talk to them, no matter how you reason with them, no matter how reasonable your take on the situation is to them, they will never see it. And you have to understand that people who think like this is years of conditioning and years of thinking, and it starts in childhood, and there's usually a personality type that tends to fall into this category. It's most of the time people in this category, these are people from families. Yeah, I'm not even gonna say most of the time. I'm gonna say in my experience. In my experience, you know what? I'm not even gonna say that because I don't want to generalize people. I will say this particular woman that I'm talking about, she came from a family that was very well off, and her family always taught her. They gave her this inflated sense of entitlement. So her family always made her think and believe that she was entitled to things. So when she grew up as an adult, in her mind, she shouldn't really have to work for or at anything. It should just be there and given to her. So that meant to her that she shouldn't really have to work to have a good job. She should just find whatever job she wants, and they should pay her whatever money she demands because she's entitled to it. She felt like she shouldn't have to really work at having friendships with people because people should just automatically want to be friends with her. Well, as we all know, that is simply not the real world. You have to work for and at everything you have. Even when it comes to being friends, one of the best pieces of advice that my aunt gave me, one of my aunts told me, it's a good piece of advice. She said, in order to have a friend, you have to be a friend. And that's a very simple statement, but it's a powerful statement because it's true. It's true. In order to have a friend, you have to be a friend. You have to be there to support people mentally, support people emotionally, support them physically, even. And when I say physically, I mean show up to their events, show up to their, their celebrations and their parties. Show up, be a physical presence. That's what being a friend is. And if you can't do that or you won't do that, then you're not going to have friends. But in her case, she felt very entitled. So, like I said, as we know, the world just simply doesn't work like that. So, when she got out in the real world and started to see that nothing comes easy, nothing comes free, if you want a job that's going to be making a lot of money, you usually have to go to college. You usually have to gain years of experience. She didn't do that. So that was a big disappointment and letdown for her, and then when you start to see, like I said, in order to have a friend, you have to be a friend. Well, she was never taught those skills. So with her, it just really became her not understanding these basic life tools. And instead of, even as an adult, just trying to figure out what she was lacking and obtain those skills, her response was to really take the easy way out and just say, well, it's because everyone hates me. The end. That was her response. And it just wasn't a very good one. And it just was not a very good response at all. So, like I said, the only way to deal with them is not to deal with them, because you're never going to get anywhere. The only way, you will never get anywhere with people like that. You will never make any headway, because in order to do that, you would have to undo years and years and years and years and years of conditioning and backwards thinking. And you would also have to convince that person to really do some introspective work. And for someone that has a narcissistic personality, that's just simply not going to happen. So, best way to deal with them is not to deal with them and to cut them off. And another reason why you have to cut them off, and this goes back to what I said earlier. People, you have to really protect your energy. You have to be very conscious of the stuff you're taking in from all angles, not just people talking to you, even the entertainment, the TV shows you watch. Let me say this. I love reality TV like everybody else, okay? Real Housewives of Atlanta, Real Housewives of Potomac, Hustle and Soul, kinda. But, really some shows that I watch and enjoy. I love reality TV. However, there's some reality TV that I just can't take. Like, I just don't even want to take that stuff in. Love and Hip Hop, Black Ink, I can't watch that shit at all. That shit is so ratchet and it's so negative, and it's just beyond anything. Oh, and Married to Medicine is probably my favorite reality show. And that's the show that actually shows us, meaning black women, in a positive light. But I'm just really conscious of the stuff I take in. I'm very conscious of the people I'm around, because I'll tell you, when you are around people that are constantly negative and everything is horrible and life sucks and people suck and everything is terrible, when you are around those people, you start to take that in. When you're around people that are positive and they have a positive outlook and they're happy most of the time, you start to take that in. So when you are dealing with people who are negative, like the person we're talking about, it's best you cut those people off as soon as you can, to avoid taking in that negative energy, to avoid taking in that negativity into your spirit, into your atmosphere. And another reason you want to cut them off is this right here. People that think like that, like I said, they are unable to take responsibility, and their cop-out is to blame everyone else. There will come a point in which they will pinpoint you as the issue, and they will blame you for their problems. That's what they will do. They will blame you. And the reason why is because they will look at everything around them. They're constantly searching for a reason their life is not going right, a reason people won't deal with them, and you will absolutely positively become that reason. Back to the personal experience I had with this coworker of mine. Like I said, her and I were friends. We talked all the time, and no one at work was mean to her, but she was convinced that they were, and they were treating her differently, and you know, yada yada yada. Well, I'm gonna tell you what. Her and I were having a conversation like always, and out of the blue, she tells me, she's like, well, they all started being mean to me. I think it's because they notice I'm nice to you and I talk to you. Okay? So, what she said to me was, these people are mean to me because I'm nice to you. Okay? That statement right there goes to show you all her logic and the logic of people that think like this. You know, I have done nothing to you. I have been nothing but good to you, but because you're so desperate to not take responsibility for your own actions and not take responsibility for the way people view you, because you're so desperate to do that, you turn it into people are mean to you because you like me. So these people will turn on you and they will make you the reason for their problems, and then you'll be in the same group with everybody else. So, you know, just cut them off. Okay? So now, let's talk about how we avoid running into these people to begin with. Okay? Now, as you guys know, I am not a big fan of characterizing people, grouping people in these categories, judging large masses of people, but we have to draw some parallels, right? Now, here's how you can identify people like these usually. Now, like I said, this is most of the time, not all of the time. Okay? When you meet people that are grown adults, grown women, and they have no friends, like not a one, or they don't have any long-term friends that have been friends with them for years, those are people you might want to stay away from. And the reason why is because one would have to think that there's something that is preventing them from maintaining friendships. Because let's be honest, it's not necessarily hard to make friends, because, you know, you work, and when you work at a job, you know, you get close to people, you make friends. When you know, at church, you might make friends. At the gym, you might strike up a conversation. So, I mean, it's hard to make a lot of friends, but it's not hard to have a friend. So, when you meet someone that doesn't have a single friend in the world as a grown woman, you know, that would be a red flag to me, that there's something about this person that makes it very difficult, if not impossible, for them to maintain friendships. That's number one. Number two, when a person talks to you and all they talk about is themselves, and they are not the least bit interested in you, That's another red flag. That shows you right there, this is a person that is self-absorbed. And again, people that are self-absorbed don't really make the best friends. And then the third red flag I would look for is, I would look for, people that always have something negative to say. They always have something negative to say, but yet they stay in the same situation. So it's the person that's constantly like, I hate this job, I'm going to quit this job, but yet they show up every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That is a person that wants to continually bitch and complain about a situation, but is not concerned about fixing or correcting the situation. So you really want to watch out for people like that. And like I said, we all vent. We all have had those conversations with our friends or our family members in which, we're like, I hate this job, fuck this job, I'm gonna quit this job. We all do that. But when someone is constantly doing that, not taking action, not taking your suggestions on how to help themselves or the situation, that's someone you want to steer very clear of. So, that's really what I wanted to talk to you all about today. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to comment below or email me privately or whatever. Let me know. Have you guys dealt with people like this before? And how did you deal with them? Did you just cut them off? Did you continue to befriend them? And if you did, and if you didn't cut them off and you continue to talk to them and be their friend, how did it work out? Again, I really wonder, did those people get better? So, comment, let me know. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.